Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has ordered the army to move in on the Tigray region capital, Mekelle. The instruction comes after his 72-hour ultimatum for Tigray leaders to surrender ended. Now, thousands have fled into neighboring Sudan, where conditions are desperate. The UN is warning it is running low on essential supplies for the people who have been displaced by the conflict. Now, DW correspondent Mariel Müller reports from the Humera camp, which is 80 kilometers away from the region of Tigray.
Humera camp once housed refugees who fled Ethiopia's famine in the 1980s. Now some 9,000 people have saved themselves once again, but this time it's because of war. In this hospital, people wait for hours before receiving treatment. Like Agare. She, her baby and her father escaped the war in the Tigrayan town of Humera.
I was afraid because the bombs kept falling for 3 days. We just left without money, without clothes. It took 10 days to come here. Now we're here in Sudan. We've been in this camp for 3 days. We don't have any shelter.
Her father has terminal cancer. Since they got out, he hasn't received his medication. People here are desperate, they tell us. Water, food and shelter are scarce. Some of them have to sleep on the ground, are struggling to get enough food or medical aid. The new refugees crossing the border to Sudan worry aid groups. A representative told us we are unable to respond to a growing influx. The UN Refugee Agency is bracing for more refugees crossing the border from Ethiopia.
People need everything from water, food and shelter. So at the moment we are catering for over 9,000 people a day hot meal to our partner. And that's not enough.
And it's children who are suffering the most. It's estimated that half of the refugees are children. Many of them need medical treatment, like 5-month-old Alem. He's been coughing and has had diarrhea since days. I can't breastfeed him, and here they don't have milk powder and the food the baby needs. Outside the hospital, we meet Alem, whose house was bombed in Humera, the site of reportedly some of the heaviest fighting between Ethiopian forces and the Tigrayan army. He got shot in the leg.
I am alone. My mom and my dad were killed by the bombing. These clothes are my only ones. I wear them for days. Nobody helps me. I don't have enough water or food here. Nobody takes care of me.
If more refugees arrive, Alem fears that the situation could get even worse.
And I'm now joined by Baba Baloch. He is the spokesperson of the UN Refugee Agency. Welcome to DW News Africa. People at the Humera camp, that is a UN camp, told our reporter that there's not enough food and shelter, that people are having to sleep on the floor. We heard from a nursing mother who said that there is no formula. It just appears, Baba, that the UNHCR's response to this crisis is somewhat lacking.
My colleagues in Sudan, since the first day when the refugees started to arrive, it was a trickle first on 9th of November, and then we received 7,000 the next day. So the sheer numbers of refugee arrivals in Sudan's remote corners have overstretched the humanitarian response. We are now able to reach more people, but the flow now has been like 3,000 people per day. It has been an effort in terms of logistics and distances, trying to move people away from the border and build shelters for them and provide them the necessary they need. And the effort still continues, but it is a huge challenge.
Okay. The other thing is, the people that you're referring to, these are the people that have actually left Tigray and now find themselves in Sudan. Have you been able to reach people who, for some reason, cannot leave Tigray?
So the number of refugees that have arrived since the start of conflict inside Sudan has crossed 43,000. Even till yesterday, nearly 1,000 arrived. We're really worried for civilians inside Tigray region. There's no access. There's an information blackout, and particularly worried about civilians. But also, let's not forget there are nearly 100,000 Eritrean refugees in 4 refugee camps. And even before this conflict started, there were 100,000 internally displaced people, Ethiopians.
The other aspect to this is that many families have been separated by this conflict. Can you tell us more about that?
Indeed, we keep hearing heartbreaking stories of family separations, mothers looking for their children, daughters and sons, wives and husbands have been separated. Many have left going in different direction. And that's the reason many of the refugee families that have arrived and they have members separated, they want to stay close to the border points, one in a hope that they may see their loved ones soon. So for us as UNHCR, we have been trying to move people away from the border. So far, we have been able to move at least near 10,000, but the number of refugees that have arrived is 43,000.